for that stuff.
I had one that was prolapse that we nursed back to health
Yeah.
years ago. Ready to start recording?
Already.
All right, let's come to order, Whitney. It's
7:01.
yeah, Verizon says 7:01.
Yep.
Okay. Any of you never been to a zoning board meeting before?
I've never been to one.
Okay, you know what we do?
Kind of figure out whether or not you're going to allow variances to existing rules, right?
Yeah, but we have very strict guidelines, stuff set forth in law about what we have to consider. And some of the definitions aren't what I would have considered common sense
Right,
when I first started, like hardship is not inconvenient.
right.
You know, they make a pretty clear line between those two. So we have a number of different things that we can do to adjust the effect of the zoning code on a person's property. We can grant exceptions, which basically means we're allowing you to break the law in this case. And we'll do that if the purposes of the ordinance aren't going to be met by denying you permission to do what you want to do. So if somebody came in and wanted to build well, we actually had somebody wanted to build an auto shop in the residential district, and we said, no, can't stretch it that far, because that's directly against the point of the code. But if we're looking at something like, stretching a lot boundary, and it's not making things much worse, which is probably what you're looking at here.
Right.
That's the kind of thing that we mostly concern ourselves with. So Rob Taylor, Mr. Taylor is our zoning administrator, and I'll have him read out the public notice. And then we'll ask, assuming you're Mr. McIntyre.
I am.
All right, we'll ask you if you want to present your case. Something you need to know is that it's up to you to demonstrate that you are meeting the criteria for the exception. All right, we're under no, I mean, we do, but we're under no obligation to help you meet the criteria.
Right, right. I guess that's where Chris, the architect, would be handy.
He should be here. Said he was coming.
Lawyers get paid a lot of money to help with this stuff, but
Right,
we're not going to try to trick you. It's in our interest to help you develop your property.
yeah.
I would just say for a little housekeeping
Mhm.
measure, I would elevate Tim to voting status.
I will seek him. I will seek him. Are you two here to? Okay,
Butters.
so at some point after he makes his presentation, I'll call on the public to speak for and against. All right, in support or in opposition.
We do have one.
We
So
may
I
have
have butter
somebody
up there.
You having a butter out in digital land?
We do.
We have a forehead.
Dawn Oaks. Is her name.
I can't read it, Rob.
Dawn Oaks.
Dawn
just said.
Oaks.
Thank you.
She's the neighbor.
Yes, and did you, all three of you, did you sign her?
Oh, no, no.
I did not.
At some point, that does that.
Okay, we have Whitney Banker is taking minutes for us. And we have Tim Lenahan, who's an alternate board member. We're going to seat him for this hearing because that'll give us a full board of 5 members. Madeline Johnson, Susan Brown, Mike Dean, Celia Fierro. All right, Tim, you want to kick us off?
Rob?
Rob, you want to kick us off?
Yes.
Don't be insulted.
I don't know where. This is land use case Z 22-12-01. Matthew McIntyre is seeking variance relief from the Enfield zoning ordinance, Article 4, Section 401.1, Paragraph L, to construct a single-family residence within the prescribed setback to a side lot boundary. Subject parcel is 0.248 acres and is located at 398 Shaker Boulevard, tax map 24, lot 18, in the R1 residential zoning district. Subject parcel is owned by Matthew McIntyre.
Mr. McIntyre.
You want to come up and sit in one of the cool chairs, Steve?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Fine. sit
I
down.
need you to. I've got bad cataracts, if you
Okay.
don't mind.
Yeah,
I said Chris should be here.
Yeah, well, I'm prepared to make an extensive case, but essentially you got a house there that was built over time, series of kind of disjointed buildings. And I'm trying to make sense of it. And trying to make sense of it, basically turning it into a rectangle with a box on it. And to make the room dimensions and everything work. I don't remember what the specific numbers are, but I think it's like 36 square feet on one little corner to make the master bedroom square that would be on the side of Tara and Kevin Albert.
Are they here?
They're not here. They have no objection to the plan. I've run it by it. And then just to square off the deck in front, I think it's 9 square feet to do that. So kind of the logic that Chris and I were applying as we were going through it was we were removing a fair amount of the house from areas where it would violate current setbacks, particularly on the Oaks side. And then also on Kevin and Kara's side, but up towards the 398 Shaker Boulevard end of the lot. So I'm not consuming the entire existing footprint, losing a fair amount of that, back to hopefully pervious surface. And trying to, like I said, just square off those 2 spots to make it a more sensible floor plan.
Now, the numbers that you mentioned, 36 and 9, and I see 45 on the other side, you're talking about additional space and setbacks that you'd be using.
Correct.
I see also that there is, okay, I see also quite a bit that you're not gonna be using. Maybe, I'm not sure about that.
Can I ask, when was the original house built?
Over a bunch of different years. I mean, I'd have to go back and look, but I think it was like 1930 or something like that is the first little camping section.
Yeah.
That's about right with you guys. Yeah. And then in the 80s, David McIntyre, no relation to me, architect, put an addition on the front and then put like another 4 kind of additions on the back. A shed, a flat roofed section.
I went and looked at it.
Yeah.
From the parking lot, it did not go on the,
Yeah,
just from the parking lot, and it really, Mike, it absolutely fills that lot.
It does.
There isn't any space on either side of that building. It fills the whole entire lot.
I think we can see that from the drawing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
When were
don't
the
really
last
see it from
additions
the
completed?
drawing until you go
In the
and
80s.
look at it, and it,
The 80s or 90s.
Yeah, I think it was like 86 or 87, if I remember the building permit from the tax card.
Predate zoning anyway.
yeah, predates zoning. There's no argument
Inside.
about that. The question is just, is this a good thing to do with the land on the lot? And I see that it says on this thing that there's gonna be 2 bedrooms, and I see 3, 2 in the big part, and then that box thing on the back.
Boxing's really an ADU, the accessory dwelling.
Yeah,
And that corresponds to
It's-
the addition. Now there's sort of like a little separate.
Correct, there's a
Yeah.
shed there.
Separate, yeah.
yeah,
Plus
but
there's
it makes,
Sheds.
but it makes a total of 3 bedrooms. My concern
spaces,
about
yeah.
3 bedrooms or an ADU
Mhm.
instead of 2 is the water and the septic.
Yeah.
Cause you gotta have a septic tank.
It's all there.
Do you have town water?
No, it's gonna drill well,
It's gotta
Then
be,
it has
but
private septic.
if you have an ADU, you're putting more people on that tiny little piece of land.
Well, basically looking to replace what's there. I mean, right now it's a 2-bedroom home in the main building and then there's
Yeah, it's not.
another building that
Has a
essentially,
bedroom, but so that makes more people impacting the land.
but what I'm saying is I'm replacing literally what exists there now. So
Yeah,
there's no
two-
change.
There's
It's
the
not
same
changing
number
the
of
number
people.
of people. And
Same,
Correct,
It-
nor is it changing the number of rooms.
Yeah.
There-
bathroom. Is it changing the number of bathrooms?
It is.
Yeah,
More
there's gonna
bathrooms.
be 3 bathrooms.
So it's going,
2.5, right?
No, three.
It's 3 and, is it 3.5? One,
It's,
two, yes,
well, I
3.5,
counted three when I.
3.5.
So, yeah, that's not, one of my questions is something like that, that's not for us, that's for the septic. That's for the state to decide, isn't it? If it's okay.
Yeah, the
with
state
the
doesn't
exist-
care. I mean,
With the existing septic system, that's not our problem. Okay, so just out of curiosity, where is your septic system?
so it's, there's a pump station that is on the Oaks side of the
Okay.
property that then feeds into, or excuse me, it's a septic tank that then feeds into a pump station that then pumps up along the Oaks, my property line to another tank that is where the parking area is.
Oh, okay,
And then the septic field is basically the parking area.
okay,
So the septic is between the road and that wood wall that you see there, you know, when you drive by
sorry,
it.
just a question.
Right.
No.
there.
And then the well is kind of down where that bedroom, that's the little rectangle.
There's a part here, and there's a fence there.
I'd like to come back to the area inside of the setback. You have lines on your diagrams, showing the, I think it's 20-foot setback there. Is that right, Rob?
What page are you on, Matt?
Either one of the,
Either one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you're showing a shaded area that says existing house to be demolished. Rob, can you put these on the screen?
Have to go. Grab it. Hold on.
Actually, we'll just come around to Matt's place.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I needed all this homework with me.
And I'll show you guys what we're talking about when I get it clear in my head. So which of these, the dark or the light shaded, is the original? So.
That's,
So this is the setback
I
stuff
understand
that we're
that.
talking about here. Not the,
The one I'm asking you about is, which shows me clearly the original house?
yeah, we'll get this.
it's like the third page, Mike. Site plan A02.
He's turned to site plan A03. Is that the new house or the original?
So this is part of the, right, so like, see this here?
Yeah.
That's original, so this is new, getting pulled back in here. And this is original here, so that goes away,
So this bit here is gonna
go away, yeah, and this bit here goes away.
all right.
Original, but there is 9. You know, it's like this, it squares it off here, this gets a little bit from here. So that's original, and then this is the new,
Which is the original here?
right here,
Yeah, okay. And this would be your new. Back to here.
so it looks at, yeah.
That's somehow gonna make sense to me.
Right out on the front, you know, there's
There,
deck and
that's
patio, and there's that little piece that's right on the corner here that squares off the deck.
What's that? Nothing?
That was A3 that you had up there, Rob.
Yeah, I just gotta share it now with the,
That right now is, I think, nothing.
Oh,
I
online.
think what you did was you incorporated the deck in here. Yeah, that's just nothing, that's open land.
I'll go show them on that screen, see if you can tell
It
me
makes more sense,
yeah, if I've understood it. So what I'm trying to get at here is how much of the original house was in this line here?
Yeah,
That line is the setback.
Right.
There's the setback on the other side. So this is the original house here,
Right.
and that's gonna go away. This darker shaded area is the new construction.
Right.
Similarly, this section here is part of the old house. The new house is gonna be here. So this little bit of it's gonna go away, but it's gonna get longer. There's nothing here, and then this goes away.
Right.
So it looks to me like a wash in terms of encroachment in the setbacks.
It's a wash or maybe a little less.
A little, yeah, maybe a little less.
I got Chris on the
I'd
phone.
love to put numbers on this. You know, so that we can put it into the findings of fact.
Yeah.
The numbers are there in that, I believe,
Well, you've shown the reductions, but you haven't shown the additions.
Oh, it
I
says
don't see the
reduction
gross square
in
footage.
setback violation, SF at basement level is 273 square feet.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm looking on AO3, you'll see one of the little sort
One of his
balloon
notes.
things that comes here, and then we have,
Yeah, that's the reduction.
right.
Okay.
So then here it says on the other side, new home outline, no north, prior violation was
45.
45 square feet.
Yeah.
Chris, the architect, I got him on the phone. He's inbound.
All right.
Somehow, when I called him today to remind him to come tonight, he heard, well, I didn't say this, tomorrow night. So he's on his way. He'll be here any minute.
So if you look on AO2, it says that little chunk, new setback violation is 36 square feet. South lot nonconformity is reduced by 175. And then farther down, again on AO2, you'll see that other thing that squares the corner. Again, it's 9 square feet. So if we added all this up, maybe we could come up with exactly what the
So
the
you
difference
could
is.
tear the whole thing down and start over again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was, along with being built in multiple iterations, the foundation was also built in multiple iterations in different ways, and it was never put in with perimeter drains around it. You know, so it's got a sump pump in it now. So you got a, damp, nasty basement you could never get rid of if you keep the sump in it.
It's probably not appropriate for year round.
It's a
I mean, it could be a lot better now for year.
Yeah,
round.
well, I lived it the last 4 years for year round, but let me tell you, it gets frosty about this.
I was gonna say, or it's been.
It's a pretty ramshackle little place.
Oh, yeah,
It
I've
really,
kayaked past there.
Yeah.
yeah.
Ramshackle's a good
I've
way
been
of describing
inside it and the spaces are tiny and chopped up,
Right there.
And- sort of jiggery pokey
Yeah, he
Hey,
literally kind of
he-
attached 7
stuff
different
on
buildings.
it, exactly. So I assume that this is gonna be a massive improvement also in energy efficiency and
It'll be a brand new
and
house,
all that
absolutely.
as well, so.
Gonna be solar?
I don't know, I don't think so, because of the way the exposure is
A lot of
there
trees right
with the
there.
neighboring trees on the Albert lot. It's kind of like the southeast side, and then that's got a bunch of big tall white pines.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I could get enough
I don't think,
exposure there.
I don't.
It'll be, new windows, way better insulated, just built.
yeah, I don't think you could get solar in there. Now, I mean, not without, that's one of my questions was gonna be was what would the tree removal be getting in there? Cause there are those big pines right there. I
Right,
know
a
that
lot.
spot.
Members of the board, this is Christopher Thomas Ross. He's the architect.
Well,
Hi, Chris.
Hi,
Hello?
nice to see you all. Sorry for my delay in presence, but here I am.
I wanna ask some things here. Before you get arguing over the feet and the setbacks.
yeah,
Yes.
Number one, I looked at this and from what I understand, the house is gonna be totally demolished. We're on a steep slope in the first place. And there is, which is a real concern.
So it actually
Also
steep slope.
changing your basement, correct? you're putting in a new basement.
No, it's gonna go above. So right now it goes into the ground.
Right.
It would be built on top of the ground.
But you still have to go in and excavate and do the
No,
round.
be
Well,
built
that's
up.
not what your plans say.
Sure it does. It's got an Alaskan slab on it. So it's gonna go up above the ground. Now it goes like, say, this is the base of
Where
the,
are your walkout? On the walkout one,
right, it walks out to grade and there's no basement under grade. Right now it's about 3 feet of basement, maybe 4 under grade.
but it still is gonna be, my concern, it's a very small lot. And what you're asking a lot to do is to, you wanna break the whole lot up
No, we're doing
and
nothing
put a
different.
well, you're gonna do it, if you're gonna take a house down.
Like, we're
right.
putting a house that's essentially the same house back in the same spot.
But you still have to go in and take the different foundations out, put the new
Correct.
ones in.
Right.
And it's tricky because you got a slope that's like 13 feet from the top to the bottom to the lake. I mean, yeah, it's like a 13-foot drop.
But
Over.
Seeley, look at where it is, because the drop from the area where the septic system and the parking lot is a significant drop. You see there the stairs down to
Yeah.
that, and the level that the
Yeah.
house is on
Yeah.
is much less.
Yeah,
That's the
what's
ledge
this?
where the parking kind of area is.
Yeah, there's some drop there.
If you
It's a
look on
drop.
A100, Celie,
Okay,
you can
Oh.
see that there'll be less on the ground because part of the house will be propped up on poles, is that
Right.
right?
This is
Yep.
correct. So that's to reduce the, it's to allow proper drainage around the house now. So we free up some of the ground plane of the home, less.
how are
But
you gonna
in,
do that?
well,
It's on piers.
so let's,
Posts.
Right, if you have it on post, but you're still covering the ground, correct?
no, but it frees up the ground plane for water to pass through so that we can get proper drainage and grading along the south
Are
property.
you gonna put in like piping and things
Yeah,
like
of
that?
course. I mean, it's all gotta be done properly, so does anyone have a laser pointer?
I don't.
So
Laser
this,
pointer.
so here's
not-
your lot encroachment on the south side. This is the new footprint here visible in this plan. This whole side, there's not gonna be, this is going to be reduction of, okay. This dashed line right here, that is up, that doesn't touch the ground.
That's for the-
It only touches
Yeah.
the ground on 2 spots.
Except the poles.
So this whole zone, which was previously blocked by foundation, you know, the whole house proper. And it was even closer to the lot line. Look at this. This is down to, I mean, geez, this is less than 5 feet.
Mhm.
So we're back a bit. And then this whole ground plane, I can walk under this. I mean, the first floor of the house is 8 feet above my head. So that frees the ground plane. We can do proper grading, proper drainage around this whole side of the house, which is kind of dank and muddy and messy, and
You didn't even
You know,
have planting and stuff there.
plantings to control
There's not
water
really great
infiltration.
soil and.
No, but I
there,
meant like,
Yeah,
well, blackberries will grow in anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can use, nice proper planting, so the overall, like, physical impact of a mass of a home on a ground surface is much, much improved because we've freed up this whole front area here as well, because there's no house there. This full stone path and everything, this will all be improved with proper drainage, better footing along here. This has all been kind of racked and moved and shifted by, improper placement, and it's all out of stone and it's not set right. So what we can do now is, now that we've freed up the ground plane on this side and on this side, because we have more room around here too, we can, grade the site properly. There's going to be designed by this civil engineer who's on the project. There'll be infiltration ponds and things to make sure that there's no runoff getting into this lake.
Will you be
It'll
working with
very improved.
DES? on
Yeah, of
this?
course.
They
So,
have to.
so
And you got a
engineering
book
ventures,
down.
I'm sorry, excuse me, Pathways Construction Pathways is,
Consultant.
consultant,
Yep.
thank you, is doing,
Uh-huh.
the whole shoreline protection stuff. You can't build a brand new home near the
One
two
sec.
hundred and 50-foot zone without
So your
the shoreline.
Still on it.
What was that?
Your computer's talking
Sorry,
to us.
I'm having trouble with the connection. Please try again in a moment.
Siri.
Robots are.
Serious,
Siri,
serious.
Siri's pretty mad at you right now. I just gotta say.
So, Pathways is working with us and they're gonna be doing a complete shoreline permitting process through the state of New Hampshire. We're within 250 feet of the shore area, that's the protected
Right.
zone.
Yep.
So there's all these regulations, lot coverages, percentages, rainfall count, all this stuff. And the lot coverage that's gonna end up on the site, they'll crunch all those numbers. If we need to do rainwater filtration with like the roof runoff and all that stuff, they'll do it and they'll make sure that we're well
What
protected.
about we have the decks with the walls below the house?
So this
She's down
right
below that,
there,
Chris.
there's a dashed line right there, and that's a deck above you, over your head. What was that?
I think she was down below. You're talking about that stone patio.
This, all of this,
That's existing.
it's existing. I'm sure there's down the road, Matt's gonna end up with this, beautiful new house that's more compact on the site, more regular, more in keeping with the context around him. I'm sure he's probably gonna seek improvements on these patio spaces. They're existing, so, technically speaking, we don't have to like deal with them too much, but yeah, Pathways will be taking those into consideration when they do the ground surface calculations, because they're considered to be impervious. So we have to take them into account when we get our shoreline permit, and they'll do so. So let's just run the worst case scenario. The impervious surface is a little high. Well, Matt and I and, Pathways will have to sit down and come up with what the new patios are gonna have to be built out of. We'll have to go with pervious pavers or some sort of better system.
Right.
Pull it back a bit from the water's edge, give some more natural pervious surfaces. So all these things will probably end up becoming improved by.
Yeah, you
Just
wouldn't
sheer
invest this
facts.
much in it.
What did you say the
No,
square
this
footage?
is a year-round permanent residence. It's not an ad hoc sort of thing.
Yes.
He's got the numbers. The new house, I believe, is less square footage than the old house.
Yeah,
Including the little cottage?
yes.
Yeah.
Percentage is already there,
It's
Steely.
pretty much there. So the original cottage is shifted closer toward the water.
Uh-huh.
And it's right in here. If I could connect my computer and get a much crisper image out of it, if need be.
Well,
But,
we've got the printouts, I think.
but you guys do have
Yeah, we
the
have-
print set, so,
Yeah.
What's the square footage of the house?
the
Do
total square footage is
Oh.
on one of the prints.
If you go
I
there.
can just rattle it off for you if it's not right there.
The current house or the new house?
The new house.
I want to know the original and the new house, the plan.
So let me.
That's it.
I have another, like, I'm just looking at some of my stuff here, cost analysis. So. The. One. It's 2,400 square feet, let's call it 26. For the new, and then the old, that's gonna be on the tax map info, I didn't. You can just pull that up, so this is 26 on 2 floors total. But really, you only care about the footprint in this sort of situation, so the ground floor footprint is 1,200 square feet. And then Rob is helping me out for that.
That'd be a
So
lot
ground
better.
floor, it's 1,200 square feet.
The current ground floor, the
Yeah,
current,
as the proposed,
the perimeter of. the
yeah,
existing
yeah,
building.
if you basically trace a line around the proposed construction, it's 1,200 square feet.
And what's the original?
The original, if
Rob's-
it's not in there, I can quickly
There it is on the card.
go through and grab that. While I work on this, was there any other questions?
Yeah, because how much, is this going to affect the height? It's, it's gonna be considerably higher. What's that gonna do to
Effective
the,
2183, is that right?
the,
That includes the guest cottage, right?
My understanding is it does fall within the ordinance. It's less than the 35.
right,
So it's not, I mean, not the ordinance said, you know, it couldn't be, if you go same footprint, you couldn't go higher than 35, so it was under that. But I did read in the application that it was, and just knowing where that is, and I know this is the one place that's up on the hill behind it, I can't see where it would really impact anybody behind it at all. View-wise, I mean,
No, I mean,
maybe the deer.
I don't think you'd even notice it if you were in the
The
parking lot.
original ground floor is about almost 2,400. It's almost double
Yeah.
the physical impact on the ground.
Well, we have it right in
That's
front of us and it says 2183 is the effective square footage of the
Yeah,
original.
so there you go.
But the
I'm
ground
counting
floor,
some decks, but yes.
so if they're counting decks, it's 3,200.
So
Let's
it's,
see.
so we're 800 less impact, like physical, like foundation in the ground, like house.
Even if you look at the plan of what the finished thing is gonna be.
Yeah.
The top of the roof, even the chimney's gonna be below the parking area, isn't it?
So,
That's correct.
Yeah, you won't build it.
So the overall height of the building is going to be 20 to the top of the chimney. The top of the main part of the chimney is only 27 feet
Yeah.
from the walkout.
Mhm.
So it's pretty low. It's very like low, slung, long, slender
Well, it
structure.
is now, it just all
Yeah.
jumbled up.
It's all
Right.
broken up and it's not very like readable and legible in terms of the
Unintentional.
ground.
That's what I
have you
would call
changed
it.
the length?
Architect run
the
amok
length of
is
the
what I call
structure?
it.
Yes, from the
Frank Lloyd wrong.
top
Frank
to the
Lloyd
bottom.
wrong.
You want-
That's what we'll call it.
Building it out of.
The
salvage
overall
materials
length
on
would
top
be
of that.
reduced by, let me take a look at the existing.
Yeah,
Um,
all right.
the overall length reduction will be,
This is for your findings of fact, isn't it, Mike? Yeah.
10 feet. Just over
Mr.
10.
McIntyre, while.
That's right
while he's
here.
looking, the state has instructed us
In this area.
to
there's-
be much more detailed about these things.
Mhm.
So he has to do, we have to do a findings of fact that say whether we approve or whether we don't, we gotta do this.
Sure. the
So
logical
that's what we're
reasoning
doing.
behind it. Makes
That's
perfect
what
sense.
Mike's
over
doing.
there on the other side is a brook coming down, right?
You just have to list out the facts.
Along the
There's-
boundary line.
There's
We're gonna base
no
our Reasoning on.
like brook proper that's.
They want us to
down
do these in
the
descriptions, yeah.
Property line.
The color is something.
It's a seasonal stream or, you know, like when it
This may
rains
start
or snow
filling up
runs,
when it
it'll
rains.
have water in
You
it,
can
but
see the
Yeah,
topo
that would be
bends
the
right
same
in
thing,
here.
really.
But what will happen is all of the runoff situation now is like totally uncontrolled, and in fact, to Matt's point about the basement elevation, the whole house is pushed down into the water table slightly, existing. So the house, the basement proper, what you're standing your feet on, will be raised, it's close to 30 inches or so. So the ground floor slab will be up out of the ground, allowing way less disturbance on the water table proper. And then the whole condition of the house now is that this there's a pipe that pumps fairly constantly.
Well, it depends, I mean, drought year, not
Yeah,
so much, but
right.
Yeah.
But there's a
regular wet
sump
year,
pump
it's
that
15
is,
gallons every 15
there's a
minutes.
sump pump that's pumping from the basement into an open retention pond here that's not been, laid up with the proper soils or anything like that. All of that stuff goes away, right?
Yeah.
You're not. gonna
And that's
have-
leaching God knows where, I mean.
Yeah, who
you know,
knows?
Yeah.
We don't know. It's pretty sizable and you can just stand there for 15 minutes after rain and watch that bubble all day long. And it's, it's not a properly made infiltration pond. It's just,
Do they
there.
salt Shaker Boulevard?
Do they salt it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so, with the work with pathways, this whole area up here would get surface water runoff mitigation. It just has to be a part of this project. The house is of a size on the lot in the percentages with the lot coverage, there'll be some sort of rainfall plan and water runoff management plan put into place for this. And again, lifting up this part of the house, having a deck there instead of like a full foundation, giving this whole zone way more space. These are all things that we've done with the design to allow for better water management on site, because right now, that's not been a consideration, especially with some of these clearances to the nearest lot. I mean, that's not enough space to do.
And
proper
no heated driveway, I might add.
Yeah.
unless you have the
That's
septic tank heated.
You have a neighbor down the road that's got one.
The heated driveway.
Yeah.
There's not even enough space here now to do a proper water
Yeah, just split that by
swale
that.
system. So, all of that will be addressed.
Because Chris,
through
if
the
I,
state permitting.
so is it ledge up where that
It's-
drop off?
It's all fill. So
Oh,
this
it is.
whole mound is fill.
Oh,
So-
it's Phil,
So
okay.
they've basically taken whatever, it's nice for Matt, cause he's got really flat at grade parking in relationship to the roadbed.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all fill. And in fact, the septic system is underneath their parking spots. Is this correct?
Right,
So that system is again, that'll get tested before the shoreline permitting stuff, because they're gonna look at the card. It's fairly new system. It was designed to be under a driveway. It'll get checked.
Let's say, but not many.
Yep, so it'll get checked and they'll require it when we go for our shoreline.
I should think the shoreline
Well, that's
people would be
important,
happy
that whole
with you,
shoreline things there.
that you're,
Improving.
covering less of the lot.
right.
Yeah, I mean, it's a
I
big,
had some dealings with
Well,
them when
very
I
important.
put a
Less
garage
runoff.
where the barn used to be at my house.
Yeah, I mean, if there's salt and that stuff is sort of percolating through, gravel or something, it's getting cleaned out instead of going through a sump pump and then, coming into the basement, getting whatever reservoir in the basement and then getting
This,
pushed out.
this whole zone is probably gonna be where some sort of filtration pond ends up being, and plantings and proper stuff like that. This free zone right here on the south side of the lot, right there. And
Okay,
we have a lot of nice space for that.
let's wrap up. If there's
Yeah.
any more questions about the incursion into the setbacks, you're welcome to ask those.
Yep.
All the rest of this is the purview of the planning board, not us. I'm happy to entertain a few minutes, half an hour of discussion about it to satisfy your,
About-
all this discussion about the water.
Oh, it's very important.
It's
Whether
not
it's-
under our purview. It's the planning board.
Well,
Because we're
you're gonna change,
we're not changing anything. We're being asked for a setback variance.
well,
Yeah.
So
which is the ground.
we're talking about a setback variance.
So, yeah.
We're not talking about the watering and the design of the site or the house. And I'm happy to have you guys talk about it for a little while, but it's time to wrap that up. We'll come
We
back
can
with
wrap
the
it up, but I'm
variance.
gonna tell you, it's, if you go in there and changing the different feet that for your setbacks, you're still gonna.
I'm not saying it's
impact the
unimportant.
lot.
I'm not saying that it's not
And
important.
it's in the
Sealy,
thing that.
it is important, but it's not.
Well,
for
the
this
building
board.
new house, which is in in the variance, that they're building a new
I-
house.
I can make some concluding thoughts about the
I'm fine with it, I'm just.
No, not about that, about the variance for
Stop.
setback violations.
We're fine.
No, they
Yeah.
could build a house in the
Yeah.
current footprint
Yes, I know that.
without anything, and it would be bigger than what they're asking for.
And I'd like to
that's where
stop
I
discussion now.
Yeah,
And I think Steely would like.
I
not
think
to
we
continue any
do have
further.
a
She
butters
does-
though.
Stop, please.
Yeah, we need.
Please stop.
We have a butters that I think want it to be heard, Mike.
Right. So we'd like to have give the abutters a chance to be heard.
That's what I
So
said.
we need to stop talking. You guys have anything you'd like to say?
Question, and I think you guys pretty much answered it. It's nothing, we're not as neighbors. It doesn't affect our site at all. It's for on like the Gillen site.
The only effect for you is the house gets a little further away from where it is now relative to your house.
Excuse me if I ask, so if you're facing the house from the lake, are you on the left or the right?
They're on the left.
Okay.
From the lake.
So that's what
From the
I'm
lake,
saying.
Yeah.
Oh, from the road, they're on the right then.
Correct. From the lake, they're on the left. They're looking across the lake. They're the
Right,
white
okay,
house
I'm
that's to the
always
left.
see it from
It's
the
that little
road.
White House down over the banking, right?
Yeah. So
Can
you
you
right
give-
past my place.
Okay,
Can you give us your name for the minutes?
Gloria Oaks,
Gloria Oaks, and you're asking what?
just who's gonna affect our property and all, but obviously it's not going to. It's-
Yeah.
The variance doesn't have anything to do with your side of the house.
I can just make a quick point about that. So this little zone right over here on the north side, that this is your property over here. And then this piece right here, that all is in close relationship to your lot lines and your property. That all gets reduced and actually meets the current zoning requirements on that boundary. So we go from a encroaching home onto setbacks that, are important to you. And that goes away now. So that whole presence of the house being very forward to your lot is now it's set back. This is almost about 5 feet. And then no setback violation on the north side at all. So I would say that's a win for you guys. It'll feel like the house is farther away than it is currently.
It doesn't feel like he's like nearby, so.
Yeah.
so-
Well, you guys have a nice, beautiful lot.
Right.
Fantastic lot. So, I see it as
I look forward to continuing to look over your
a
lawn.
win for you guys there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
No issues at all.
cool.
you said the abutters on the other side are okay, they have.
Yeah, it's Karen, Kevin, Albert. I've got an email from them. I sent them this whole package and they're like, no,
It's gonna
we
be
love it.
less, Yeah.
No
They're gonna have their-
objections.
so you're not gonna have your gas tanks basically practically in their yard anymore? What's happening?
Actually haven't gotten that far along in the thinking of where those little snowman gas tanks
Right,
would be.
right.
Kind of logically, they'd be in the back now
Yeah,
as opposed to on the side.
We do have the potential to possibly bury them at the northeast end of the little guest bunkhouse.
right,
So that might be a very nice spot. We've freed up a little bit of land, a little bit of square footage there.
There was a buried one there when I bought it.
Yeah. So,
Okay, we're gonna ask the people on the Zoom meeting if they would like to. They're members of the public, so that they have anything to say? Folks, if you'd like to speak, you'll need to unmute yourself. After 3 years, we shouldn't have to be doing this, but
Get Dawn's
No,
attention.
we're good. Thank you so much for having this on Zoom, so we're able to be there even if we're in a different state. Thank you.
right. Jessica Purr,
It's Jessica Perkins. I'm 2 properties to the south. I'm the Perkins property.
is there anything you'd like to say for or against?
Nope, thank you so much.
Welcome. Okay, do we have a motion in favor or against granting this variance?
Move to grant the variance as requested. I put it that way.
I second the motion.
All right. We need to add in the reasoning, and I would say that The reasoning is that it meets all the criteria.
We need to go through the thing.
Yeah, we need to talk about each one briefly. To see if any of the board members think there is a violation of any of the criteria. I don't have to. No. If we were strictly following some format, yes, but we're not.
Okay.
We never have.
I don't see where it is contrary to the public interest at all,
I don't either.
quite the contrary.
I think it'll improve property values if it has any effect on them at all.
Definitely be an improvement for the lake water and the lake, you know, and the drainage and that situation.
And I would say that, when we start talking about the spirit of the ordinance and, this is one of these rare situations where I would actually link substantial justice and the spirit of the ordinance together rather than spirit of the ordinance and hardship, because I think that this situation that the house is in was created. This is exactly why zoning was created, was this add-on house situation. Made people go,
No
gotta
argument
stop
there.
doing that. And so now, you know, had somebody thought about this in the eighties, this would have been a better way to do this. And that's really where I would be at with the other two, is I think substantial justice is being done, but I also think that the spirit of the ordinance in that this is a better way to build a house if you're going to build a house in a small lot like this.
It's less encroachment.
This is the
Less
better
encroachment.
way to do it.
Yeah.
It's less encroachment, and I hear a lot of good stuff about mitigating runoff and mitigating, you know, the damage to the water cable and things. So this,
Stormwater management.
yeah, this is just a better way to do it that we didn't think about in the eighties, and hence why we have zoning, so.
And I would have said that the values of surrounding properties will probably be increased because
Yeah.
it looks better.
Yeah, well, and it's this design in particular is in keeping, there's another place further up that's like 3 times the size, it's like green or something that's got big, I can see this totally in keeping with that. I live at the old Livingstone Lodge, so. I'm
Yeah, no,
way
it's
down
similar to
there,
the one
so
that I built on Goodwin Road.
Yeah.
too.
It's very in keeping with some of the other houses that sit right on the water, the newer projects.
Yeah, and the important thing too here is, you know, fairly low in nature.
Yeah.
As minimal footprint as we could get with having a year-round residence. I mean, it's a proper year-round, single-family home that's contextual size-wise and height-wise with
Just
all
don't paint
the
it pink.
adjacent neighbors. Yeah, no, actually, not to get into it, but the whole scheme for the house is gonna be, you know, natural tones.
Yeah.
Browns and blacks and wood tones and things like that.
Nothing against pink, I just.
I know.
Give people.
I mean, you could, I mean, maybe, I don't know.
No,
Do you wanna pick a
we'll
house?
stick with natural.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't get people excited. That's all. And I, as for, you know, hardship, I think, I want to say that I believe that the homeowner is going to great lengths here to really make this. I want to say he's enduring some hardship to me. I don't know if that fits with it.
The hardship's
No,
over, maybe.
But I can make it fit easily.
Do you know what I'm saying, trying to say here is that
Well, we don't have to.
Yeah.
We can just look to the ordinance where it says, there's no specific provision of the zoning ordinance that will be benefited by strictly interpreting it.
Yeah.
With application to this property. So if we literally enforce the zoning ordinance on this particular property, it's not gonna benefit the town or the public interest at all to do that. In fact, it would be detrimental because we are getting better stormwater management, we're getting better tax return because it'll improve the value of the neighborhood, we're getting a better fit for the neighborhood,
less encroachment, I might add.
less encroachment.
That's the key.
Right, that's a big key.
That's what.
We would.
That's the real thing,
It's less than, it would less, if they
That's
built
what
it
they-
exact same footprint.
right. You don't have to add the more money and all that kind of thing, and nothing to do with zoning.
No, but it's less encroachment.
Yeah, the
And-
criteria is it, does it lower the thing of the neighborhood? That's one of the things.
That is one of the criteria.
It's one of the criteria, so it's not just some frivolous thing we're saying.
No, I think so I believe we've covered all the criteria, and Mike, I assume you did findings of fact on the square footage and those things.
Right. I said the original house was built between 1930 and 1987 and covers 1,444 square feet with a total of 2,183 square feet. Setback intrusion will be reduced by approximately 273 square feet. The new house will be set on piers and slab, covers approximately 1,200 square feet with a total of 2,600 square feet, which strikes me as a more efficient use of the space. The new house will be above the water table and no longer need constant dewatering of a basement, have much better stormwater management, no objections from the abutters, designed to fit the neighborhood and natural environment. Anything else that I left out?
Oh, sounds good. You did a good job.
I like it. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay,
Motion.
all right. Sealy's moved the motion. Question for us is, shall we,
Adopt or?
thank you, shall we grant the variance as requested because
That's what the
refusing to
motion
grant it would
said.
be a special hardship.
Yeah.
I see.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Crickets.
There you are.
All right, you have your
That's
variance.
variance.
Thank you, Mr. Ross, for these are really,
Good.
doing this for years, and these are particularly nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like. No, seriously,
I do,
Yeah, it's nicely done.
it's all three,
But I mean, for
lighted
novice people,
3D
you know,
kind of
yeah.
thing, tried to lay it out in a decent way for people, provide a 3D so you understand the massing.
It's good.
Thank you.
If you're gonna come for us,
too.
again,
No problem.
it will help us to see a real clear picture of the original and the new.
You'd like a sort of like an addendum to this?
Be hard to take a picture of
That-
the original because you
Right.
can't get near it with
I
a
can do that.
camera.
I want to be able to look at it, because if you're coming to me for an area
I
variance.
said, oh my
which
God.
you paid for,
Yeah.
It really helps me to be
Crazy
able to look
house.
at the original
Yeah,
footprint and the proposed footprint. And have those numbers right there on that picture.
Or even just
So
a
that I
cover
don't have
sheet
to-
that says.
Yeah, something that says that.
Well, A0-1 is original, and then A0-2 is
Yeah, there's
proposed.
a lot of information on there.
On A0-2, there's a lot of information,
There's a lot of
so
information on there. And that's,
I can boil it down a little bit on
that's what you want to do.
A0-2.
We're not engineers or
To
architects.
take a
We don't look at
picture
that
of it.
stuff.
We
And
could
you
even.
wouldn't see it all anyway.
But
I don't want it for this plan. I'm just saying in the future, if you want it to go really smoothly,
Yeah,
you make a dead simple drawing that shows me
oh, sure, I
the
can do
original
that.
footprint
Right.
and the new footprint.
I was really shooting for like really serious accuracy, over like boiling it down to like deleting all the topography, deleting all the,
And
you know,
give all this too.
patios. I
That's
mean,
fine.
we
This
can
is
have
good
that.
stuff.
I can cut it down to like,
Nothing.
I'm not saying cut it down.
No,
I just want a simple table of stuff.
It wasn't one simple sheet.
table, yeah, I can do that for, I can absolutely give you one.
what's that?
Yeah, yeah.
It's that, and
That's
and
fine.
that's something we could talk about maybe sometime with bylaws or something, like something developing the form where it's at, like on area variances where there's somebody filled out
Yeah.
Yeah,
the square footage of old versus new on the.
Right.
on the-
If
on
that's
the
something we
form.
want.
Rob could even counsel people like, hey, include, this is a good thing to include.
if you want to cut your meeting from 90 minutes and lots of arguing down to 15 minutes.
Yeah,
Keep us focused on.
absolutely, yeah. I'll give you a simple line
Gives
document.
us something to hang our hat on, you know, I think it's.
Right.
Yeah.
But.
Thank
All
you.
right, we got minutes to do. You guys want to hang around and watch us do our minutes?
Probably fine.
Boring.
The planning board does it minutes first, and then we.
Yeah, we probably should.
No, I think it's much better for the
Okay,
public to
great.
do it the way we do it.
Thanks. Thank
Hey,
you.
nice to
Nice
meet
to meet
you.
you.
Hope to see you again in the future.
Okay, Claudio, there
Renovated.
are not
The
enough.
Enfield building associated, the little house in
Oh, really? Yeah.
things here on the in the beginning on it.
Okay,
Seems like a
It's
nice.
maybe, oh, yeah. He's smart.
All right, motion to approve the minutes. And we'll have discussion about them.
But there are a couple of tiny corrections that I.
Which are we looking at first on
Right.
October 11?
Okay, on
Which one, is the 8th or the 11th?
the 11th, for the
Okay.
first,
On the 11th.
because it's first on the agenda. Line 61, the high school sign, Chief Holland said the sign is only 3 feet tall and 7 feet wide. I would say that there, just because it makes it closer to specify the
That
high
sign?
school sign. Yeah, say that sign instead of the sign.
Yeah.
On line 120, I looked it up. If you want to abbreviate 1,000 with a K, my computer told me it has to be a capital K and it has to be right next to the number. I looked it up. And there are 2 or 3 places where you got a little K,
Okay.
but you can't go through and replace all the little Ks with big Ks.
I'll do that.
There's something on line 157.
Wait, can we back up? I had some things a little bit before.
Why don't I do mine and then you do
Oh,
yours?
fine,
Yeah.
fine.
On line 175, and this was a question I had before. They do not plan to have many messages at any one time, period. Chief Holland, and is there something missing? Or
Yeah.
is it that Chief Holland said that?
I think it was that Chief Holland said that. I probably just in editing, like inadvertently highlighted in.
I wonder
Yeah.
if you wanted to put in here that just said according to Chief Holland.
You could do that. And on 254, I think it should say they turn off the sign not during regular business hours. That's wrong.
Outside of regular business hours.
They turn off the sign,
Which line is this?
254.
Outside of regular business hours.
Yeah, outside of regular business hours. And that's all I had, I think, on the October minutes. Whitney, you do such a good job. You really do. It's just impressive. That's hardly any corrections. I couldn't do it that way, even with spell and grammar checker.
Okay, Madeline, you get some too?
Yeah, I think, you've on line 87. I would like to have a comma after is. So where the flag is, comma, where residents would see it. So we're talking about the sign, not the flag.
Where the flag is, comma, where residents would see it, yeah.
I would, in general, as a general rule in line 92, you said as the community building is there because is actually what you should be saying most of the time where people say as.
Okay.
On line number 95, I think you should spell out the Canaan Police Department and the Mascoma High School, because otherwise, whatever, I think that should just be clear there.
High school's capitalized.
yeah.
Mascoma Regional High School.
Whatever, you should have its name, its real name there.
Be consistent.
I think in line 101, the National Highway Safety Administration shows that, comma, specifically a changing sign. That should be set out. On line 115, I would prefer to say if there is a situation rather than an instance.
I don't see any problem either way.
In line 120 said that what he has heard, I think he was set, it's enough to say that he has heard.
Which line is that?
That is line 120. On line, 145, it should probably be Mr. Lenahan said that any aggrieved party, AGGRI party. I would.
Appeal, not repeal, the decision made. Same line.
Yeah. On line 155, I was a little bit confused. So is this Chief Holland said that, comma, in addition to the location, in addition to the location,
So that to add to the location.
it said that to add to the location, the main app, like, I didn't understand what that meant.
Oh, I think what he's saying is that in further support of this location,
In addition to, wait, is what they're saying, in addition to the sign, the main avenue for getting information out was through COVID, is that what he's saying?
I think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
maybe you can clean that up.
yeah, that
The
doesn't,
location, I would say the sign, because otherwise that's, let's see,
I think the point was the only medium they had for getting information to the public about COVID restrictions in town was social media. And because this location gets seen by so many people in town, it'll be useful for getting information out to people. And I don't think we need to have that in there.
I
okay,
don't think
Yeah, it
that's
was-
true, but we.
Just remove.
I'd leave.
general grammar in line 204,
Okay.
that should be such as, not like.
Or.
I saw.
Line
I saw
204.
It's the way I see some of these things that are being corrected is that she's quoted what people said.
That's
Thought it
true,
was maybe-
that is true.
Yeah.
You are absolutely right.
And he said, what he said was like the energy.
Stuff they got.
Okay. All right, I think, on line 298, it seems as if we need to, it says the town has said that they are going to install this regardless. And
That's
I
what,
think what we need to me is regardless of the ZBA's decision, that's what the regardless refers to, am I correct?
Yeah,
but that's what they said.
Yeah. But I think for this, we need to
Yeah,
have
they
it
could have done it.
regardless of what it is that they're talking about.
Regardless of what the ZBA does, yes.
They're gonna install it regardless of the ZBA's.
right.
Decision or the ZBA's
Exactly.
position.
Yeah.
Thank you for not including my tantrum in the minutes.
I was a little bit confused here in line 362 and 363. Mr. Taylor said that the ordinance definition section of structure, period, any temporary and permanently.
That was a quotation from the zoning regs.
That may be, but it's got a period. So my thing said, it seems to me what he was saying is Mr. Taylor said that the ordinance reads or says any temporary or permanently. They say that the ordinance definition sentence of structure, period. If that's an orphan, that any temporarily or permanently has
Mr.
no
Taylor
relation to
said
anything because there's a period there.
that what we probably ought to say there is Mr. Taylor said the ordinance defines structure as any temporary or
Yeah.
permanent.
Perfect.
You got that? Defines structure as any temporary or permanent, not permanently. Even though it may say permanently erected structure.
On number line 415, Mr. Lennon suggested a fine schedule for people who have ordinance violations. I think what you mean here is people who violate ordinances.
Suggested a fine schedule for people who violate the ordinance.
That's another place where
Didn't suggest a
quoted,
fine
yeah.
schedule, did he?
Yeah.
It's a dink. It's
Yeah.
above his head.
Hey, that's a good idea.
On line 438, Chair Dean clarified that they think, it would be helpful to know who's they, because now with
We have a guest.
gender corrective things, people, does they mean the zoning board? Does they mean Mr. Dean? The language as is will be okay. Generally, okay is capitalized.
Yes.
And then you should have a comma after that. Languages is will be okay, comma, but would like the planning board to look at it. That's it for now.
Yeah.
So for the first time in forever, I have one. Line number 93, and I only say this because it actually came up. Someone asked me about the sign. So we have line number 93, it says emergency shelter. And it should say emergency cooling and warming shelter, because that is what it was referred to as.
Okay.
And I had to tell someone that was,
So if there's a flood, you can't go there?
well, I don't know, but that is what the town manager referred to it as, is the emergency cooling and warming shelter. And I believe that's how they got the grant for it, to pay
Yeah.
for it,
Yeah.
because that's what it is.
And he did make a point of using that language in the meeting. I remember
And I said I was unaware of that. And I think they did use it for cooling, or they offered it this past summer when when it was 103 degrees or whatever it was. So I said that's,
Good change, Tim. Thanks.
Move the minutes be approved as corrected. The October 11th minutes be approved as corrected.
So with, as long as there's no objections,
Yes.
go through.
Good.
So true.
No, to November 8th.
Oh, right. Paul VNC.
There's no typos.
The second. Paul Bianco. We're just doing minutes at the moment. The hearing for the Shake Boulevard property is over. You're welcome to stick around and listen to us do our grammar corrections, but it's kind of boring.
Line 93
Line 93, I.
makes no sense to me.
The board would not allow someone to build a home of this size today.
I want to put on a lot this size.
To
Yeah,
build,
what they were
Build a
saying,
home on a lot this size, one or the
Sure.
other, but it's gotta be
Yeah.
fixed.
yeah,
And then, on line 108,
to build a home on a lot this size today.
yeah,
well, we wouldn't let somebody build on a home that size either. You can't just stick a house on top of somebody's house, like, that's not okay.
That's not in our purview. We don't have anything to say about that.
Well,
That's
if
the
that-
planning board.
on line 108. Chair Dean said that it would be, and they would then be two different variance requests. I think that should say
it would be separate. So that it would be.
there would then be two different variance requests, or then there would have to be two separate variance requests.
Join the sentences in 107 and 108.
This was the messy
Yeah.
one.
Mr. Lenahan
Yes,
asked
it's-
if putting a structure onto the lot across the street requires a separate variance. Semicolon, Chair Dean agreed.
Okay. And then there would need to be two different variance requests. That would do it.
Yep.
Triple decker.
Yeah.
I need to call a brief recess. Can't wait any longer.
That is all I found.
I have some other things, but should we wait for Mike to come back?
Yeah, so we should.
The vice chair can
But that's the
Oh, okay.
only things I found. And I was so
Okay.
impressed with how you do this. You got a house full of kids, a husband. You sit
dogs.
there with a recording and they come out just beautifully. And before you came along, we didn't used to have line numbers.
Yeah, no, the line numbers are
And-
super helpful.
That makes such a difference to have the line
It helps
numbers.
me too. So, can we?
You,
put that
you
line-
just tell Word to put those in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On line number 46, it said if needed, the board could also notice another public meeting. I think you wanted to say to publish a notice for another public meeting. Is that what you mean?
Yeah,
Because otherwise it sounds like, oh, they've noticed there's another meeting.
yeah, I see that. Okay.
Well, I read it that it means they're gonna put out a notice.
Right, but
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah,
Fair.
On number 52, Mr. Taylor said that town manager Morse has offered to have town council virtually or in person in response to the legislation. What was meant there? That is offered to have town council respond virtually?
I think
or
it
in
was that they were
person?
gonna visit the board, like visit a future meeting or
Yeah.
advise the board in some way.
So you mean in response?
were you here?
Yeah, I was
You know,
here.
remember, he said, because we were talking about having to do this findings of fact that Mike's writing down while we're
Right.
doing it. And, Rob said we could have town council, if we wanted town council come and talk to us, they would. And
So-
what that means is the town will pay town council.
Right, I understand
to do a
that.
workshop for
Unfortunately,
us.
I
if
think-
that's not very clear.
Yeah.
That sentence is kind of missing a verb.
Like maybe it should say have town council meet with the board.
Yes,
Okay,
Yeah.
And then I'll nix the.
or
end
to
section.
comment or to explain or
Okay.
something. On number 90, line 97. Shared, just please say said. Shared is,
Right, we're not sharing our toys.
we're not sharing anything here, we're saying things.
Can you tell I ask people to share their toys?
Let me see, some of the other things have been caught here.
Pass down your signs. Thanks, Brent.
This is America. We don't share lanes.
Confusing on 153. Mr. Lanahan said that with the location of the wellhead and having the carport cover the wellhead would protect it from snow plows. It sounds like the carport is protecting the wellhead, not the wellhead protecting the carport.
No, it is that. The
Yeah.
carport's protecting the wellhead.
Exactly, but the sentence says the wellhead would protect it from snow plowing.
Maybe we should say said.
Oh, take the comma out.
I think you could just say, Mr. Lenahan said that with the carport cover, the wellhead would be protected from snow
Or
plowing.
you could just
Yeah.
take out the comma.
Either way, what they said, what is what I meant.
Yeah, it's,
Having the car,
Exactly.
you could just take out the comma.
Mr. Lenahan said that the carport cover will protect the wellhead during snow plowing.
yeah.
That's what I meant.
That is what you meant.
Mr. Tuesday, before we proceed with this plan, except for have, okay, so line number 233. Ms. Achito said they have formal approval from the Eastman community for this plan, except for having the Enfield ZBA's approval to include. So my understanding is they have formal approval from the Eastman community for this plan, but need the Enfield ZBA's approval anyway. Is that what that is? Is that the sense of that?
Where are you?
I'm on line 233.
Yeah.
Rob, is there something in the chat?
Yeah, basically Eastman has approved everything pending that Enfield.
Right, exactly,
approves it.
exactly.
Just say that, replace except with pending, except for having, replace that with pending.
Yeah, except,
Pending Enfield ZBA approval.
Yeah.
Line number 263, further and farther, farther means physical distance.
Farther means further away. It does.
yes.
What was the line number?
The pending approval one,
Farther, further.
Yeah, farther, further.
Taxes.
that
That's
was
Yeah.
264.
Thank you.
Does farther mean further away?
263.
It's one's farther is actual distance, further is more like to further something.
Time. Yeah. These are beautiful. You did
Further
such a good
progress.
job.
Something
We
like.
are so lucky to
Or
have
do
you.
Something rather
They should
than,
give you a
but if
raise.
the house is 10 miles farther down the road.
Yeah.
All right,
If we pass the mark at which the house was 10 miles farther down the road, then we have furthered our journey toward
we
that.
have,
So,
we have
I
nothing
think we
further to
adjourn.
say.
Motion, do we need
We
a
have
motion
nothing
to
further to
approve
say.
those minutes?
Oh.
We just went over
motion
amendments.
to approve the minutes as amended.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
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 So Rob, what do we have?
Motion to adjourn.
Next month, nothing yet.
Nothing yet?
All right,
Keep you
we're
in
adjourned.
the loop.
All right.
Once Mr. Woodstock gonna move his damn portable sign around.